it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down.
I just appreciate everybody watching.
Watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's going on? Welcome back to another post-game edition of the Trap or Dive podcast, provided to you by 214 Media. You know what time it is, man. 7-5. 6 dubs out of the last 7 games for the Washington Commanders. Washington beats Atlanta 19-13 off the backs of Kendall Fuller and Deron Payne, essentially. I see you all in the comments. Let's get the administrative item out of the way. Let's go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you have not on the YouTube side, we appreciate that. If you are checking in on Twitch side, hit that follow button if you are new. And yeah, we here, man. Hawk, I see you. What's going on? Al 2, I see you. He scored 2 tutties today. Fuller. All right, man. Whatever. It's like, nah, it was a good play. That was a really good play. And I think we can start off with just that sequence and then turn to a full game perspective. He said we eating scrambled eggs Jamie style today. That's wicked. Jay, I see you checking in. AJ, man, how you doing today? Everything well with you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How about you?
Bro, I'm tired as hell, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. That goddamn we had the flag football tournament or our playoffs were today. So I didn't think we were like I fully planned on making it to the championship game, and we came 1 game short. But it was a tough game in the rain, bro. I'm exhausted. But you know, we're here, man. We got some things to do. And we got some sports to talk about. Dre, what's going on with you, player? How you feeling?
Was good, man. Shit, we got another W, man. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of how we got it, I'm just happy to stack the W's at this point. I know my man AJ probably a little upset over there. You know, it's a tough day.
Nah, I'm cooling, man.
Sounds good. Well, I think since Al 2 brought up Kendall Fuller in the comments, I think it is we can kind of talk about the overall thoughts of the game, but I guess the first portion can go to where the game was won for Washington. It was a drive, obviously. 10 plays or 11 plays that went for 80, or let me double check. 10 plays, 80 yards. And you know that's the Zacchaeus drive or the Zacchaeus play where it's just a complete breakdown in a sense. You know, you think that things are in good shape for Atlanta, and obviously the offsides puts them in that goal-to-go situation. So just kind of seeing how that whole thing plays out with the tackle for loss. You have the tackle for loss, then the incompletion, or the interception, the very next play. Deron Payne comes up big, and Kendall Fuller, who has had some solid games over the past few weeks, man, is sealed Atlanta's fate essentially with the game-winning interception. I'll give the floor to everybody in terms of your thoughts on the game, and then obviously just the last sequence if you have any specifics on that one. But overall thoughts on the game in the last sequence.
I mean, I think the game came down exactly how I thought it would. You know, who was going to create the most turnovers would win the game. Atlanta was successful in running the ball, and in return, they were able to also get into their play action a little bit as well. Probably more successful running the ball than I expected. You know, Cordell Patterson wasn't as much of a threat as I thought he would probably be. But at the end of the day, I think Zach Ziegler, or however you say his last name.
The receiver, Zacchaeus?
Nah, not the receiver, but the running back number 20-something. But yeah, he was toting that thing. Like he was running. He was making some plays. Deron Payne is an all-pro this season, man. Definitely an all-pro. not just because of how he finished the game with the batted pass, but just overall impact. The offense still looks like the offense, which is some shit. That's why today on this episode, my name is Reggie Heineke for him being so mid. Yeah, man, I don't know what he's seen on.
Smoking on that Reginald.
Yeah, I don't know what he's seen on that interception. That was like beyond triple coverage. Then this man just like flicked the ball out, which was close to being a fumble. Then the next play, he did the same thing again. Like, it's just ridiculous how he plays quarterback. Like, he really idolizes Brett Favre. Like, you can see everything in him with Brett Favre, but he's nowhere close to having the arm talent as Brett Favre. But decision making, oh yeah, they twins. They treacherous twins out there. But yeah, just offensively, man, Curtis Samuel and Jahad Dotson ended the day with 0 total receiving yards. That is unacceptable. Unacceptable. I don't care who's playing quarterback, bro. Like, for your other 2 receivers to only have 0 yards total is wild. Logan Thomas, I think he probably finished the day with 7 yards receiving.
Yeah, I got the numbers for you. So in terms of receivers, you have Terry McLaurin, 4 catches, 48 yards. De'Ami Brown, 1 catch, 17 yards. 1 target for Jahan Dotson, 0 receptions, 0 yards, and that's all for your receivers.
Yeah, just a terrible offensive game. Fortunately, they were able to be progressive with Brian Robertson, who ran for over 100 yards today. I thought Antonio Gibson was going to get involved more. That didn't happen in the running game or passing game. I think he finished the game with 32 yards. Mual's guy, Drake London, had 1 catch, I believe, for 28 yards.
2 catches for 29 yards. Let's be specific. Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That boy did his thing out there, you know what I'm saying, with a limited Mariota, you know.
Definitely had all pro numbers out there.
Hey, for sure, you know it, baby. You know it.
But yeah, man, at the end of the day, man, defense stood tall in the red zone. Ended up creating that turnover to win the game, as it was looking very bleak of them winning this game. Another game where Ron Rivera has poor time management. Yeah, man.
I did think he played it well on the back end, though. I ain't gonna lie. I had to give him credit for that one.
With the timeouts, I would have did the same thing. Yeah.
Hell nah, you can't do that, because you already know mindset wise that they plan on going for it. So you might as well stop the clock at 1:20. Like that just makes no sense to me.
Wait, what you talking about? Are you talking about the first half or the second
half?
I'm
talking about the end of the first half where Taylor.
I'm talking about the end of the game. I'm saying I gave him credit for the end of the game and how they handled that.
Yeah, I'm not talking about.
I agree on the first half. I do agree on the first half.
I don't think the first half was good at all.
I'm not talking about the end of the game, but it would have came in handy if they had a third timeout that they ended up wasting earlier in the second half. But either way, man, they got the victory. Next week you go against the New York Giants. That'll be huge. And I guess I'll let Dre go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is actually an uglier game than I thought it would be. I thought it would be ugly in the sense that, this may not be a lot of offense in this game, but there was offense in this game, especially on the Falcons side of the ball. And that's why I said it was ugly, because the defense is supposed to be the strength of this team, and they've been playing, lights out football over the last couple of weeks. But I thought the Falcons kind of bullied them in certain instances in drives. Especially running the football. That's the strength of this defense. Like, I think we've been an elite run defense over the last 5 or 6 games. But the Falcons, they pretty much ran the ball how they wanted to run the ball. And the Falcons, don't get me wrong, that's the strength of their football team, is they are a running football team. But their strength beat our strength today. But it's ugly because it didn't show up in the scoreboard. Like, the Falcons ended the game with 13 points. It felt like they scored more points than they did, and it felt like, maybe they dominated a little bit more than they did. But at the end of the day, they scored 13 points, and that goes to the defense. In this game, they made timely plays. They made timely stops. They may not have been dominant like they were against Houston or even against the Eagles, where they played a lot better, but they made the timely plays in this game. And the Kendall Fuller play ended the game with the interception, with Deron Payne, of course, making the play. But that's, I mean, like I said, it just felt a little uglier than I thought it would be offensively. I mean, they, kind of been giving you the same performance they've given you over the past couple of weeks. But Brian Robinson, man, he's making a damn name for himself over these last couple of weeks. I mean, I know a lot of fans were ready to give up on him after the first 2 or 3 games. They were like, oh, he doesn't look anything better than Gibson. Why is he getting the carries? Now you kind of seeing why he was getting those carries. He's becoming a household staple for this team. As you can see, he just beats the defenders up, man. I mean, guys don't want to tackle him. Jamal texted us during the game saying how strong he was, and I responded, man, shit, he looked like Derek Robinson Jr. Derrick Henry Jr. out there, man. I mean, he was just out there just balling, man. He was dragging dudes. I mean, he's been doing this the last couple of games, but I thought Heineke overall, like he wanted to give the damn game away today. And I just didn't understand it. Like that interception he threw right before halftime, where they could have got points on that drive. I didn't understand what the hell he was looking at, what he saw. It was nothing there. Like, I mean, he could have got
say one thing too.
Yeah.
The interception was so bad. I don't even know if this is going to make sense to you all. The interception was so bad. Like, I didn't see it coming. Like, I didn't see the fact that, he literally threw it to the guy, and I'm trying to figure out like how where is the mistake at? Like where was the mistake? What were you thinking? Like it was that bad for me. I didn't know and I didn't expect it, bro. That shit was crazy.
And that's what bothered me about the interception, because usually when you look at an interception, you go to the replay and you can say, oh, well, the receiver fell, or oh, I see he was looking there, but a guy was standing. But no, it looked like nothing ever developed on this play to show you that pass would have been completed under any circumstance. Like that pass looked like that never had a chance of being completed to anyone on our side of the football field. I mean, I think that pass could have been intercepted 3 times by 3 different guys. But that was that decision right there. And it was one of the, usually when Taylor throws an interception, we can go back and say, oh, he's going to probably play stronger. That interception was so bad, I thought he was going to get worse throughout the game. I said, man, I don't think he's going to get better after this interception. And he damn near didn't, because I think the first drive out of halftime, we almost threw an interception on that drive where AJ Terrell made a hell of a play on the ball, but he just didn't complete the process of the catch. But overall, like I said, you establish your identity on offense. It was about the same in that aspect. You weren't winning the game because of Heineke. You almost lost the damn game because of Heineke. But the defense, I mean, they made timely plays, but I felt like Atlanta did some things in this game that concerned you a bit, especially, like I said, running the football, which is supposed to be the strength of our defense. But you got to give it to this team. They came out, they fought, and they didn't give up. And they won this game, and they made the plays needed when they needed to make the plays in this game to win. And hey, 7-5, man, can't be mad at that.
Yeah, I understand they're like, so I try to figure out like what is really going on with how they're like moving offense in terms of Atlanta. Just trying to figure out like what the plan was, and I understand like when people say like Montel, matter of fact, Montel, I'm in a group chat with him, and when he talk ball, it's a like if they do one pass play, he's a running back by default, but if they do one pass play, they straying away from the game plan, man. They need to get back to running the football. And like, I laugh at it, but I understand where he's coming from. And I think that Washington, just like Atlanta, had a focus of, I'm going to keep this on the ground for as long as I can. And, see what we can pop off from there. And Brian Robinson had, I think probably his longest run of the season. It's not a lot, 21 yards, but he had probably his longest run of the season. They were getting off some interesting runs. They were getting off some interesting looks, like Antonio Gibson lining up in the tight split, like off the side of the left tackle and getting the jet sweep, which usually goes to Curtis Samuel. That was a new wrinkle that we haven't seen at all from this run game, and trying to find ways to attack that defensive front for Atlanta. And they were successful to an extent. And when you transition to how they performed in the past game, tight ends were a huge focus. Running backs were a huge focus. And I think somebody mentioned it in the chat. Let's see. Where is it at? Bad weather game. I agree. I don't think it should have limited them specifically targeting receivers. But I think the tight ends and running backs was probably Taylor Heineke's like safe space. And for what it's worth, him going down the middle of the field and throwing that interception, and then on the sideline, like those intermediate levels, you're kind of seeing, all right, I can understand why he's not even looking for the receivers at this point. Not anymore. I'm gonna just look for my tight ends and running backs and give these guys a chance. Not an excuse at all, but just understanding the fact that I think Taylor may have been in a space where he didn't want to make any mistakes. So if all else fails, I'm gonna just give these guys a chance in space to make a play or something. And obviously, when he did understand that he had to go downfield because he saw this man open, or he thought that he can, lead him in a particular way, sometimes those ends up biting them in the butt. Whether it's a bad pass or whether it's an almost interception or whether it was an interception, that one we still can't explain. Defensively, the run game, you all mentioned it. Like, the strength is the strength. Somebody asked me on Twitter. No, did they ask? I think they did ask. Like, did the run defense get exposed? And fellas, I don't think the run defense got exposed at all. I think, like, if you didn't know who Atlanta was, then maybe this was a surprise to you. And I'm not sitting here saying averaging what was the numbers? Where is it at? 5.8 yards a carry. Like, that is not acceptable in any circumstance. But having Atlanta go over 100 yards is not a surprise at all. What's surprising though is the fact that Marcus Mariota was able to get so many clean keepers on his read options. Like, I didn't understand how he continuously got left unaccounted for in an offense that utilized read options occasionally with a mobile quarterback, a person who is really good at handling this stuff. That was weird. And somebody else mentioned this in the chat. Jay Tyler, Danny Dimes is going to be doing the same thing probably against this exact same defense. And they better find a way to account for it, because Marcus Mariota, he had a field day being able to handle those read option looks, whether it's keeping it or handing it off to the running back.
What was that, Mual?
No, I was saying that Jay Tyler brought up the point that I was getting to with the run game. Like, the run game isn't surprising with how Atlanta wants to establish the ground. And what really, and matter of fact, I didn't say this part, but what really hurt is the double teams. They had some really good double teams, the combo blocks, and when you're able to really do that at the line of scrimmage, it gives you those clear lanes to get to the second level. And that's what really hurt Washington in that sense. But what I was saying prior was that the surprising thing was how clean Marcus Mariota was when he kept the football. There wasn't anybody accounting for Marcus Mariota. And for Jay Tyler bringing up Danny Dimes running the read option next week with New York on the way, it's a very good point, because it was unexplainable how he kept getting left unaccounted for, and Daniel Jones is going to be in the same exact situation where he can have those read options and use his mobility to get around the edge against Washington. So that is the one concerning thing in terms of, like, is the rush defense exposed? No. Atlanta's a good rush offense, but I do think that there was something off in terms of how they handled the mesh point with Marcus Mariota and the running backs.
No, I agree 100%. Because, as I was watching that game, I was saying, damn, it seemed like every time Mariota decided to keep it on one of those RPOs, he got successful yardage. I mean, it was probably 5-7 yards before he had a defender even getting anywhere near him. And it was one play, and I think it happened in the first half, when he had kept it on one of those keepers. And he got the first down, got good yardage, but Derek Forrest popped his ass. And I was like, I hope that makes him think about that, from here on. But in the second half, they did seem like they adjusted a little bit better. We did see it on that last drive with James Smith-Williams. He read it perfectly on Marcus Mariota. He didn't make the damn tackle. He should have made the tackle, but he still lost yardage on it. But he did read that the way it should have been read the whole game. That's what I was saying. I was like, man, damn, that's what they should have been doing the whole game. But it was good to see they adjusted. But it was concerning because you knew that's what the Falcons wanted to do coming in, and you knew that Marcus Mariota was going to keep a lot of those, option plays. And it didn't seem like we were prepared for it all, at least in the first half. So like you said, with Daniel Jones coming up, I mean, not just next week, Daniel Jones, we have him for the next 2 weeks. So with that being said, you have Daniel Jones for the next 2 games coming up. This was a good test for you because, like you said, you can kind of run a similar defensive scheme against the Giants. I mean, not too much because the Falcons kind of run some of that college gimmicky stuff a lot with Mariota. I mean, it's a good play calling because that's the strength of the offense that they have going right now. But you have it on tape. You saw you get burned by it a few times, so you should be prepared. And there's no excuse for Daniel Jones to be going out there and kind of gas you the way that Marcus Mariota did this week.
I agree, but Daniel, for whatever reason, I don't understand how he is just so good with his legs. Like he really does find a way to create, whether it's through scrambles or design runs. But yeah, he's just a surprising individual.
Surprising.
Yeah, that's the nicest way to say it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this defense struggles with dual threat quarterbacks. It's just whoever is calling the plays offensively, if they're going to prioritize it or not. Mariota had way too many running lanes, and if he was the one that would like to get hit, could have gained even more yards. But he plays it safe. He likes to slide. Daniel Jones ain't gonna play it safe. Any other dual threat quarterbacks that they might face, not gonna play it safe. It's something that they need to key in on. But the hard thing going into the week with the Giants is you key on it too much. You got a home run hitter in Saquon Barkley back there, and he could be going to the races. But it'll be interesting to see how they plan. I would put 8 in the box and see what happens from there. But I was gonna say something. What was I gonna say? I was gonna ask you guys a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Carson Wentz should start this week? I mean,
now that's a question.
I've seen too much of Heineke, bro. Like I'm cool if you're gonna utilize this offensive strategy, Wentz can hand off the ball.
I think that's valid. It's a valid question, and for what it's worth to answer it, I was in a space where I had said whenever because he backed up Taylor today, right? Or was he inactive again?
I think it was Sam Howell. He's still backed him up. Yeah.
Okay, so I had said the day that because winning, I understand what Rivera is saying, right? The reason why Taylor's the starter right now is because he's winning, is what it is. You also have to understand what the locker room is and all these other things, all the variances and nuances of keeping Taylor in. Okay, cool. But I said the minute that Carson Wentz is in a position to back up Taylor, and that clock starts for Taylor at that point. And I thought it would have been this week if Carson Wentz was playing. Carson Wentz was active. He wasn't, but like that is where the bad games can no longer exist, or being detrimental to your offense can no longer exist. And I don't think today was the case where you can say Carson Wentz is starting the very second he's like full 100% good to go. And to answer your question directly, that means no for next week. But I will say one thing about Taylor. Again, I understand I think I understand what they were doing offensively in terms of like where he was going with the football. And understanding like not taking too much risk, but like the mentality that he's playing with, like Ron Rivera's even said it in his pressers. He has said like some of those Heineke moments where it's like, what the hell are you doing? And that stuff continues to build. And you have those random moments in the game that you can't really account for, like when the mistake is going to come. And fortunately for Washington, the mistake came, I think, when it was a tie ball game. So like you survive certain moments, but you can't never predict when they come. Like that's how volatile of a player he is. And for Carson Wentz, he's never had that opportunity in Washington to just hand the football off. Taylor is doing it. Carson Wentz has never had that opportunity. And that's not to say that the offensive line is going to get drastically better or that, you know, Carson Wentz is automatically going to stop taking a lot of sacks. All of those things, like there's nuances to it, but I think that it gives leeway or an option to say that Carson Wentz can get an opportunity with the way that the offense is playing now because we understand how we need to play no matter who is at quarterback.
Well, see, that's where I really think this comes down to coaching, because you said maybe after the bye, or somebody said that. I don't know if maybe you said it. Someone in the chat said after the bye.
Let's see. Continue, go ahead.
After the bye, they played the same New York Giants. So you might as well play him. You feel me? Like if he can throw the ball and you can kind of utilize the same offensive scheme that you have been utilizing with Taylor Heineke and maybe put in a little bit of wrinkles there and not try to get Wentz back and now let's run this air raid type system, you might as well play Wentz at this point, because you need a quarterback that can drive the ball. Like you need someone that can threaten the field, like downfield. Like we don't have no downfield passes that are being completed or even attempted. And when they are attempted, like they're ducks. Like those they're just like YOLOs, to the point where Taylor has even made a t-shirt in partnership with Terry that says Terry's down there somewhere. That's not funny to me. You feel me? Because like at the end of the day, you want a quarterback that has some type of arm strength or some type of zip, and that's not what Taylor brings to the table. And as these games get closer, you're playing more competitive teams.
Dre, you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you're finishing. You're finishing off with the Giants, the 49ers, and the Cowboys. So, yeah, you're not just going to be able to continue to run on teams like you have been. You need to be able to play off of that and pose somewhat of a threat. I don't know. If it were me, I would start Carson Wentz this week, man. I'd let Wentz and Young. I mean, like I told y'all the other day, Young was supposed to play. Unfortunately, he got sick. But I would have those guys return next week, man. Like I can't keep watching Taylor.
And for the record, I don't think like you put up it's a very strong argument, and all of it like it makes sense. I definitely understand that. I guess more so like you're talking about from the strategic standpoint of on the field, and I'm thinking of like I guess my biggest angle is understanding where Ron's head is at from a locker room standpoint, and I don't think you're wrong at all.
I was going to say, let me add to this that Ron not only has to be the coach here, Ron has to also be president and GM Ron when it comes to Carson. And the reminder that if Carson plays, I forget, it was 70% of the team snaps this year, we have to give up a second rounder versus a third rounder. And from what I understand, I could be wrong, but I remember reading something where that in order for Carson to not meet that threshold, he would have to miss 6 games. I'm not sure where we are on that one. But with that being said, I agree with AJ, because I was sitting here thinking about this today. I said, at first this wasn't really a conversation. You're winning games with Taylor Heineke, and you may not be winning because of Taylor, but he's there and he's not losing you games, but he almost lost you a game today. Like he literally was a really defining factor in losing this game today with his turnover, and he almost had another turnover in that game as well. But Ron, the president, now if they are not at that threshold, I can see a scenario where they say, okay, we can roll with Taylor one more game with the bye week coming up, and then we get Carson ready to come out against the Giants next week, because at this point we're not worrying anymore about a draft pick. I don't know if that's on Ron's mind. It should be, because he's the president of the team. He more than likely will be here next year, even with a new owner, because we don't know when that timeline is going to happen. But with that said, he has to plan for the future. And one of those plans for the future, he has to not just be a coach in the situation, he also has to be the general manager, which in a sense in the title he is. So with that said, maybe they do feel like they can go in this week with Heineke one more week and say at the bye week, we get ready to go with Carson because we're gearing up for a really big playoff run for the back half of this season, the end of the season. And we want to open up this offense a little bit more. And we think Carson is ready. And especially like what AJ said, the offense you're running right now, you didn't run this offense with Carson. I mean, even though Carson, yeah, you can say he goes out there, he gets sacked a lot and all, but you're not dropping him back a lot either with this offense. You're relying on your running backs. If you're just wanting to do a couple of timely passes here and there, Carson might be the best move for this offense. I kind of think of it and liken it to the old games, old days. I mean, we talked about this last week where I kind of said the NFC is kind of reverting back to the 80s and how they're winning games, or at least how the best teams are winning games. The best teams are winning games with defense and ball control. And if that's all you're asking this team to do is you're going to say, hey, I know the strength of my team is on the defense, and right now the strength of my team is the running backs. Carson Wentz, you're really asking him to be a game manager. This is when you kind of bring Scott in and you say, Scott, I know you want to do things with this guy's arm, but this is the offense we're running right now. We want to kind of just take our shots when we can. And that's kind of how the old Redskins teams win. Mark Ripken was never really a great quarterback. Mark Ripken was he was mediocre, maybe some would say, but Mark Ripken, he had the arm to make the timely plays in the offense that didn't really call for him to be the leader of the offense. He just had to hand the ball off and make deep passes, the Air Coryell offense. And that's what you would be asking Wentz to do in this situation. And I can see them going to him after the bye. And honestly, with the way Taylor's playing, he's kind of making the decision a little easier for Ron.
Yeah, I'm sitting Taylor, bro. Like I can't go into a game where my two other starting wide receivers have zero catches and 0 yards, bro. Like I don't even know how many times they were targeted. But I don't remember with my naked eye that they were targeted.
No, Jahan only had one. And then the other receiver is Terry. He was the only one in terms of your Terry Curtis Jahan duo or trio. He was the only one that really got the targets.
Yeah, I got to turn to Carson Wentz, make him a game manager, just like how the Colts used him last year. Some people can say whatever they want to about Carson Wentz earlier, cool. But the way that they used him when he was available to Washington is not how Carson Wentz should be used in his career. Exactly how they're using Taylor Heineke is exactly how they should have been using Wentz from the jump. And I feel like that puts less pressure on him. Brian Robinson's getting his groove in, rushing for 100 yards today. Now you add in the mix with Antonio Gibson and Jonathan Williams. He got some play today, and just let that defense play ball. Like Wentz didn't have that at all. Like the defense is getting carved up.
That part too.
So
it's hard to. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's just like you gotta go ahead and put him into play this week, because even after the bye, you only have 3 games left. Like if I'm not mistaken, the last 3 games is 49ers. No, you played.
No, after the bye is 4. Yeah.
Oh, it's 4.
Yeah,
so
Dallas, Cleveland, San Fran,
Cleveland.
and New York.
Okay, so you're playing competitive teams. Like nobody else remaining is weak. The Browns just beat the Buccaneers. They still have Nick Chubb. Deshaun Watson is going to be coming back, and he's going to be available in that game and starting. It's a different dynamic. You need to go ahead and let Carson Wentz get this play in, and then have the bye week and maybe make some adjustments. I would not keep relying on Taylor Heineke going forward. I understand it from a locker room perspective, but damn, nah. he ain't it. And I ain't even really thinking about the second round pick anymore, because at this point, Ron is gonna want to advance to the playoffs more than losing a second round pick. They should have never did the trade in that type of setting anyways, but they did. And I feel like when you're this close to possibly making a run towards the P word, you gotta pick. You gotta pick which one do you want. Do you want the P word, or do you want the second round pick? Like, make up your mind. And for Ron, he wants to win because it looks good for him resume wise. I don't know what the hell Dre looking at but he moving his
He
head
probably
around.
watching the game too.
He
I'm over here on red zone trying to dibble and dabble in how my bets looking and stuff like that.
It's the Ravens game, man.
Yeah,
They
Justin
piss
Tucker
me
on
off.
Justin Tucker on the field.
He over there. Dre was moving his head like Stevie Wonder.
No, because I bet on the Ravens to win money line actually, and they gave up a 2-point conversion. But you
got a shot with the field goal. I don't know what he's about to kick it now.
Tucker's
So
about to make this.
So the Ravens lost to the Jaguars.
Nah, he just kicked.
They lost.
Oh, he missed
lost.
it. Damn,
Yeah. It's over.
damn.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the
Actually,
all right,
come on, before you move on,
He was
I wanted to address Richard Wilson real quick because he said I might be too young to speak on Ripken having a top 10 passing.
All right, we're staying at quarterback anyway, but yeah.
First off, let me just say, Mark Ripken, yes, he had a great 1991 season, Richard Wilson, but Mark Ripken was only a bona fide starter 1 year in his career with the Washington Redskins. I'm old enough to remember that. He was always flipped. Joe Gibbs would bench him 1990-91. Joe Gibbs would benchmark Mark Ripken when he wasn't having good games. He just had a magical season in that 1991 season. But again, we were a power running football team, and Mark Ripken would hit those deep shots. He had a magical arm, but he wasn't asked to be dropped back 40, 50 times a game and go out there and win games regularly. We were just that good as a team.
I think that's the most important, like that comment and your response, like just from an actual discussion, especially with these quarterbacks in Washington, like that is the nuance of this thing, right? So you have Al too say, did I not see Heineke lead us to a win over the undefeated Eagles on primetime? Like there's so many different, like, are we completely giving credit to like the quarterback? Like, I think we know who has been like the key cogs in Washington winning 6 out of the last 7. And technically one of those games, Heineke didn't even play. Like there's so many different things that's going on with this team. And the number one reason is the defense. The number 2 reason is the defense forcing turnovers. The number 3 reason is then you flip to the offense and the running game. And then you probably get to Taylor Heineke. Like, there are several different factors in terms of why Taylor Heineke is winning or why Washington is winning with Taylor Heineke. And to the conversation of this part, right? A top 10 rushing attack in Indy and still choked it, right? Like that part is true, right? Wentz had played his worst game in the worst spot for Indianapolis. But what's also true is the defense, and there was nothing going in that game. And I'm not about to circle back to Indianapolis. I do not care about Indianapolis. We're talking about Carson Wentz right now. There was no opportunity for Carson, the starter for Ron Rivera in 2022, his starter for 2022, to get the same type of looks that he has gotten under Taylor Heineke. And for everybody understanding how bad the offensive line is, well, guess what? There are several different quarterbacks who will be able to function in the offensive line like this. Yes, there are pros and cons to every quarterback. One of the cons for Carson is his inability to have a pocket feel. He doesn't maneuver in the pocket well. But he's not an unplayable player. He's not a terrible player. And you have to give him that opportunity in this offense where his arm is a legitimate threat to hand the ball off, because there will be several chances that he can attack a defense in areas in which that Taylor couldn't. That's the first thing, a long first thing. But then the second thing is he played 6 games on a team that he is brand new in with so many different elements. Clearly, he wasn't processing things properly. We kind of talk about it if you watch the film sessions. He just wasn't processing things properly. But guess what? He's been gone for 5 or 6 more games. He's been injured. And what does that help him do? It helps him understand the offense a little bit more while he doesn't have to worry about being on the field. So there are several different ways in which you can still pick up an offense. It's not like everything was put on pause. He's still playing. I mean, he's still playing from a mental aspect. So those are all the things that you got to really take into account with Carson Wentz, is just understanding that there is still more opportunity here. It's not like he's going to go back and, I'm not saying it's going to be the case, but it's not like he's guaranteed to go back and be ass once again. You got to give him that shot, because this is a whole new situation for him. And you have to see how he develops or how he has learned over these past few weeks since he's been gone. And I think that's kind of the case that for those who are saying Taylor is undoubtedly the best option, that is what you have to consider with Carson, is understanding that they are literally not playing the same game that they played with Carson in there. And you have to give him that opportunity to do the same exact thing that they're doing with Taylor Heineke in the offense that he has.
And Mual, we already are watching ass. We watch ass every
Seventeen-
day at quarterback.
Hey,
and when
what
you
do we
watch
say?
watch Taylor throw the ball, what do you say? Damn, I wish he had more zip. Man, I wish he had more arm strength. Well,
I'd be like, what the hell is he thinking, bro?
And you're thinking, what is he thinking? You could get the same, what are you thinking with Wentz? But goddamn, if he's limited pass wise as far as attempts and just handing off the ball, and the possibility of the play action going downfield, like you rather have that than what you're getting from Taylor Heineke. I understand the locker room, whatever, but at the same token, just think how some of those wide receivers are feeling. Like, you got your number one draft pick this year, and Curtis Samuel, who had no catching yards total, and only one of them had one target. Like, you can't win games like that. You know how hard it is to place excellent defense every week against a team. Like, it's hard to replicate. Like, it's just fortunately for them, they've been able to create turnovers. Today could have easily been a loss if Deron Payne doesn't bat that ball down and Kendall Fuller is there to make a play. But we could easily be talking about this being a loss and everyone be like, damn, Taylor Heineke played so bad. But now, because they won, we're going to be like, oh, the winning record under Taylor Heineke is so great. Like, no, let's keep him in there. Let's not upset the locker room. I'm pretty sure the locker room would love to have more points on the board.
Yes, they would. And another thing too, because Jay mentioned, I was about to bring this up. What did I say on the Thursday show, fellas? I had said, because I think Dre, you had mentioned your score prediction was like 27, I think 27 points. And one of the biggest things that I was like, this offense, because AJ's bringing up another point, like the offense is not good right now. Like, this isn't like a sustainable thing in terms of like when you have to like put the ball in Taylor's hands, because there's going to be a time. It comes with every single quarterback. It comes with every single team. There always comes a time where you have to rely on your quarterback to make some plays. And I'm not saying that he hasn't done it, because clearly he did it in Indianapolis, right? He had 2 very critical drives for Washington, and he looked very underpoised and very calm. And it just so happened to be his best 2 drives of his season this year. But at the end of the day, it comes a point in time where you have to rely on your quarterback to make plays for you. And for this offense, a team who doesn't score 20 points a game, like they don't do it. You're not losing anything by considering the quarterback change, and also considering the quarterback change even if you are winning. That is not a backwards thing to think about. If you know, think about it this way. Ryan Fitzpatrick, the very 2019, the year before, was it 2019? What year did Fitzpatrick come in? 2021. Yeah, 2021. So 2020, that year was the year that got Fitzpatrick paid in Washington. And the Dolphins were winning with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua going back and forth at the quarterback position. Mainly Ryan Fitzpatrick was winning, but they were swapping quarterbacks in and out several different times throughout the season. And I think that's kind of the crux of this whole thing. It doesn't have to come down to just the quarterback who's always winning if he's not necessarily the best thing for your offense, especially if it's going to come times where you have to rely on your quarterback's arm to get something done. So I agree.
But see, and Mual, to add one more little staple to this is kind of the point that, we were all making here with the quarterback position right now, in a sense that, yeah, you don't make a change if you're winning because of the quarterback. And that's why I said what I said earlier about Heineke, in the sense that this is why the conversation is even being had right now, because he almost lost you a game. Like, you didn't win today because, you played mistake-free football, kind of in the sense that you played the Houston Texans game last week. Houston Texans, you didn't need Heineke to do much. You were never threatened in that game. But this was a game all the way through against the Falcons, and a couple of bad Taylor Heineke decisions could have easily ended this game for you. You could have easily lost this game with a couple of bad Taylor Heineke decisions. And I'm not a person who's been particularly hard on him the last couple of weeks that he's been starting, but this week is a game that I felt like probably was his worst start of the year, because I literally felt like he was going to be the direct response to a loss in this game. And this was decision making throughout a game. It wasn't like one play in the fourth quarter here or there. You know, you're talking about like I said, the pick in the second half. That shouldn't happen. That should be you getting 3 points at the minimum there and going into halftime knowing you get the ball back at halftime and maybe coming out and taking control. But he lost you that momentum there, you know. And then, like I said, second half, he almost throws another interception to AJ Terrell. That could have been a momentum changing thing, but luckily the process of the catch wasn't completed through the ground. So this is why the conversation is being had right now. Like, if Taylor's not making these bad decisions, if he's just going out there playing game managing football where he's not wowing anyone, which he hasn't done since he started, but, you know, if he just goes out there not wowing anyone, but you're winning games, you're not really looking at Taylor in a negative light, so to speak. You're not looking at him saying, well, damn, you know, we almost lost this game. No, you're saying, hey, you know, we're winning and he's there and he's helping us win. But after a game like this, you don't feel like that. After a game like this, you feel like, man, he could have lost us a game. And this is when you think about, wow, well, we won the game in spite of Heineke. Now, I know a lot of people have said this about the last few games, that they won in spite of Heineke. I didn't necessarily feel that way. I thought Taylor Heineke had a really decent hand in those wins. But this was a game where I felt like you won in spite of him. And if this is the conversation you're having with your quarterback, you can legitimately have the conversation to say, yeah, he can be replaced.
It's a valid thing. It's a valid conversation. Armani says you can say that Carson Wentz wins us the Viking game. Al2 mentioned today, said he almost lost the game except for the fact that he scored 2 touchdowns in the red zone, which Mariota couldn't. Speaking of conversions and situations, Washington fared much. I mean, obviously in the red zone they fared much better. 2 for 3 in the red zone, and then you have your third downs wasn't pretty, but it got the job done occasionally. But I don't know, man. It's hard to really like sit here and just see this offense for something to consistently be confident in. And I don't even think that I don't think that anybody is saying that they're completely confident in this offense. I think the quarterback, and it's kind of crazy. I actually said this not even this year. I don't remember when I said it, but it was definitely about Washington. It's kind of interesting how everybody talks about the quarterback position, and you're arguing about I forgot what the situation was, but you're arguing about 2 bad quarterbacks and which bad quarterback should play for your offense. It just doesn't make sense for me. But in the moment, they're finding ways to win. They consistently find ways to win. They're making game-winning plays, specifically on the defensive side of the football. They are definitely standing up, and I think that's something that should continue to be recognized. Daron Payne, I think we're in a situation where I would imagine that we're all completely convinced that they need to find a way to keep Payne, which I think they will. I think that they'll go the franchise tag route if they do not come to a deal. And shout out to the backups continuing to make plays. I guess if we have any last thoughts on the defensive side of the football, because we did spend a lot of time on Taylor Heineke, rightfully so. But if we have any last thoughts on that defense, understanding the day that they had, and then coming up clutching in some big moments as well. I think the floor is for you all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say, the secondary held it together with Ben not playing. This was a good game for Ben to not play in and get some rest, because this is a rushing attack. Passing is not their thing. They didn't really do anything creative with their wide receivers. As we all know, Mual's boy Drake London, their first round pick,
Pro Bowl baby,
ain't do shit.
I ain't trying to hear that.
They running the Georgia Tech offense.
They running Reggie Ball.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They running the triple option.
Hey, get my man a quarterback, bro. Mariota ain't gonna do it.
So I mean, yeah, that's it on the defensive side. I'm just looking at these comments, man. Some folks is delusional, but hey, it is what it is.
Hey, look, you can only fight the good fight, but for so long. I think the last thing too for me, first off, Derek Forrest had 11. tackles today. Jamin Davis, 11 tackles at the safety position is kind of crazy. But having your nose involved with every single run or every single pass or basically a lot of them is also a good thing as well. So Derek Forrest had the team high in tackles. Montez Sweat, his effort continues to stand out. Like, he had some really good plays last week against Houston. I'm not hyping up the fact that he dominated a team that was inferior from a talent standpoint, but at the same time, his ability to make plays off of effort alone and hustle alone with the athletic gifts that he do have can always be a positive for this team. I think one of the biggest moments for Washington defensively was that I think it was the 3 and out right after they went up 19-13. Obviously, it doesn't help because Washington gives them the ball right back later after they go 3 and out. But you have Payne getting the tackle for a loss, and then the very next play you get the Montez Sweat sack. It gets them to like a third and 20 something, and you have that opportunity to give your offense a chance to score more points. And unfortunately, they do not do that. But yeah, these guys are killing it, man. The defensive line specifically, I really just I'm over here like thinking out loud or brainstorming, like how do you reason with the idea of keeping everybody? Like, I don't think that's going to be, I mean, clearly it's not, I'm saying the obvious. I don't think that's going to be an easy thing to do. I don't think that's going to be an easy thing to financially rationalize. But I know they're going to try and keep all these guys. Sweat, Payne. Obviously, Allen is locked in, but Sweat, Payne, eventually Young. There's some other people's contracts coming up, right? James Smith-Williams. I don't think he's like a priority at all. So
he can go.
Yeah, I'm about to say don't let it get confusing in that regard. But I'm just bringing up like some contracts on that defensive line. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it's obviously it's going to be hard to do, but I don't think they're not going to try. They're going to very much try to get all of them in. I guess the major mistake, I just want to say one more thing. I guess the major mistake would be if you don't think you have the ability to do it, then the major mistake would be not trying to get a deal done and have that control, use that leverage and get something for these guys.
Well, I mean, they have the ability to keep everybody. And one of the benefits of that is they've been on this magical ride of looking for a quarterback. So they're not paying a quarterback top dollars, such as, teams like the Chiefs or the Rams or, and so on. They're not in that position where they're paying a guy $40+ million a year. So they can keep Chase, they can keep Sweat, they can keep Payne. They just have to be more aggressive of doing it and stop waiting until last minute down to the wire to start negotiating these opportunities. That's where you get taxed. The opportunity to sign Jonathan Allen in advance of his contract expiring, they were able to get a bargain deal on what it costs for Jonathan Allen. But now with Payne, if you go the franchise tag route, automatically he'll be getting paid more than Jonathan Allen off the bat. And then if you plan on resigning him, it's going to be increasingly higher than what Jonathan Allen gets paid. But you still have the option of doing so, and you can still retain all those pieces. I mean, that's the greatest strength to your team right now. You have no other position group where you necessarily have a strength. You cannot afford to let any of those pieces go, especially after you invested first-round picks into those guys, and they've also been productive. I mean, of course, Chase, we haven't been able to see him in a full season since the rookie year, but he has enough talent to where, aligned with the rest of those other guys, he can put up numbers. So, I mean, it's all about being a progressive.
He actually missed time in his rookie year too. I know that was kind of random by me. I was just thinking out loud.
I think he missed like a game or two, but yeah, it's all about having a progressive and innovative front office that doesn't wait until down the wire to get these type of things done. Because I feel like Payne deal should have been done way before the season started. I already knew the potential was there for him to be what he is. Last year we was having this conversation where I was like, I would pay Payne over Allen.
Yeah.
So
you would have been wrong. at the time.
So I mean, I was never saying get rid of Allen, but if we had a whole bunch of like rumors that
I
we're
don't know,
hearing
AJ. I
that
think
one
you
was
were
getting
saying that.
traded. We heard that one was getting traded, so that's where it was like I would keep paying over Allen, and ultimately I would try to pay him. But at the end of the day, they got the freedom to do so. It's just gonna be more expensive than it should have been if you fast forwarded to a couple months ago.
Well, look, let me just say this on this subject. This is actually a good problem to have if you feel confident in what you're doing, and what you're building. I don't think, if you know what you're doing and you're smart and you're competent, you don't walk out of this situation a loser at all, and whether you want to pay Deron Payne or if the decision comes down to Chase or Montez, a good front office either finds a way to pay or keep those guys, or you're going to get great compensation for one of those guys, especially on the edge. And that's why I've changed my stance in recent weeks to you pay Deron Payne. You keep him and John Allen intact, and you make the decision between Chase and Montez at some point next year, because you still have full control, contractually wise over, those guys for another year. Now, Payne, you try to get something long-term done with him, and then you watch what happens play out between Montez and Chase. If Chase doesn't return back to form, you pay Montez easily. If Chase comes back and he's what everything you expected him to be, you start fielding offers for Montez Sweat at that point. And you can walk away with a king's ransom because he plays a premium position in the NFL. He doesn't play, he's not Brandon Scherf. This is the first big and really, really, really big decision as far as personnel wise that this roster or this front office will have to make, as far as what do you do with a premium talent of your own. We saw what Bruce Allen would do with talent like this, especially with Kirk Cousins and Trent Williams. Bruce Allen wanted to play the petty loan game with those guys, and he walked away with the lowest possible return you can get on your investment for those guys. A good, smart front office, they figure this out early. Like I said, whether it's Chase, Montez, or Deron, who's the expendable one in this group, and you keep two of those, and then you get your best possible return from one of those. So that's the test for this front office. They haven't had this test yet that the previous regime got to have. So we'll see what happens there. So that time is going to tell as far as that goes. But to close up my thoughts on this game as far as defenders, I kind of wanted to just shout out Jamin Davis again. I mean, Jamin Davis is a guy that we've been hard on. We've been really hard on this guy. The first couple of years he's been here. This is his second year. But I just feel like you're seeing him make plays throughout this game. I know I've seen him make a couple of nice key tackles in this game, especially on a play that will make something either a 4th and 1 or a 3rd and short. Like, Jamin is right there. Like, he's diagnosing plays a lot better. He's around the ball a lot more. I mean, before, one of the common things with Jamin Davis, we were always talking about how lost he was. Like, you didn't see Jamin near plays. Like, I feel like now everything that's within 10 yards, I see Jamin Davis near. And I just want to shout him out because that's been one of the integral things and one of the reasons why this defense has been improving. I mean, obviously you have those stud defensive linemen, but they can only do so much if they don't have the linebacker help behind them. And I feel like Jamin has just really been coming on late, and I've seen him a lot in this game making plays. And he's one of those guys with Derek Forrest that just ascended, and hopefully we get Ben St. Juste back soon.
Yes, sir. Last thing, and we're out of here. He asked, if Chase isn't a superstar, do you try to get something for him based off his potential? I'll answer this one quickly. Rich, superstar potential. I mean, clearly you drafted him to be an elite player, game changer at pick number 2. But in your scenario, in your question, if that doesn't pay off, like it doesn't, you don't have to be a superstar to still contribute to the team. So it just depends on how it plays off. Like if you're saying he's a terrible player or he's like very underwhelming, then that's a different story. I don't even think you'll be able to trade him. But secondly, you don't trade a person just because he's not a superstar. You can probably just find a way. And if he can carve out a role for your team, then you probably find a way to keep him in that regard. He probably just loses himself some money in terms of his second deal. But there's nothing to stop you from really keeping Chase Young, even if he isn't that number 2 game record elite player, getting all pro bids and consistent Pro Bowl bid. I don't think you don't have to trade him if he isn't that. I don't know if you all have any thoughts on the question, but if not, then we can go ahead and keep it pushing.
Oh yeah, I'm good.
All right, let's go ahead and get up out of here, man. Schedule wise, I see you, Amani. Make sure while everybody's in here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you are just checking in. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up though. The fellas will likely be back next week. I am on work travel this week. I will try my best to get something, but if we don't, it is what it is. And we will all be back post game for the Giants. We'll be back post game for the Giants on Trapper Dive. And yeah, I think that's it. So fellas, y'all stay safe. Enjoy your evening. Stay safe throughout the week. And we're gonna chop it up again on Sunday. Y'all boys be safe. Roger, I see you. Yes, like and subscribe. 2 away from 1K still. That's kind of crazy, right? Hopefully we get it this week. But yeah, y'all stay safe, man. Enjoy y'all evening, all that good stuff, man. Watch some more ball. Peace. Ooh.